Okay, let's just get right into it. Welcome to this explainer. We all do it from time to time, right? We sit in heavy traffic and vent, we groan when our tea goes cold, or we just kind of grumble about some annoying task at work. It feels entirely normal. Actually, it just feels human. But what if I told you that this seemingly harmless habit of venting is literally altering your biology? Right now, today, we're taking a really eye-opening look at the hidden neuroscience behind our complaints. We're going to see exactly how complaining physically rewires the brain.
So it really begs the question, is complaining just a harmless habit? I mean, we usually think we're just, letting off steam to feel a bit better. But the science actually tells a completely different and frankly fascinating story. Complaining isn't just a release valve. It's actually a highly effective, totally unconscious form of brain training. Now, when you hear brain training, you're probably picturing like learning Spanish or finally mastering the guitar. But the somewhat scary truth here, you are actively training your brain every single time you complain. With every little grievance, you're basically running daily drills in negativity.
Section 1. The brain's alarm system. To really wrap our heads around how this habit physically changes us, we need to zoom all the way down into the microscopic world of your brain. We need to look at what happens the exact millisecond you utter a complaint. And the star of the show here is the amygdala. You can think of this tiny little area as your brain's super-sensitive smoke detector. But there's a catch. Your amygdala, well, it can't really tell the difference between a massive, life-threatening danger and, say, your coffee just being a little too cold. To this alarm system, even a tiny annoyance is an absolute emergency. It just starts screaming, "Something is wrong! Danger is here!" Let's just walk through the exact steps of this super rapid biological chain reaction. Step 1. A complaint is made. Instantly, step 2 kicks in, and the amygdala activates. That internal smoke detector just starts blaring. This immediately triggers step 3, which is the massive release of stress hormones, like cortisol, just flooding straight into your bloodstream. And finally, step 4, your entire body shifts into fight or flight mode. So think about this for a second. Just by complaining about the weather, you are putting your physical body on high alert, reacting biologically exactly as if you were suddenly facing down a wild, hungry lion. No way, right? But that's what's happening.
Section 2. Building the negativity highway.
Now that we know what happens in the split second of a single complaint, we kinda have to ask, what happens when we trigger this biological alarm system repeatedly, day after day? Well, it all comes down to a foundational rule of neuroscience. You might have heard it. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Your brain is essentially like a giant muscle. The specific parts you exercise get stronger, they get faster, and they get more capable. So when you constantly complain, you are intensely exercising the neural circuits related to stress and negativity. You're hardwiring them to become robust and permanent. Imagine your brain is filled with countless little dirt pathways. When you complain every single day, you are basically paving a massive, wide, super smooth negativity highway. It becomes the absolute easiest, fastest route for your thoughts to travel down. But on the flip side, what happens to the positivity path? Well, because it just sits there unused day after day, it gets totally abandoned. It gets completely overgrown with weeds, which makes it harder and harder for your thoughts to even find that optimistic route. And this whole process leads to a massive shift in how you actually view the world, something called a negative interpretation bias. Because that negativity highway is so incredibly smooth and wide, your brain automatically defaults to it. Why wouldn't it? It requires zero effort. Your brain literally develops a habit of looking for the bad in every single situation, automatically, before you even realize you're doing it. This just becomes your brain's brand new default setting.
Section 3. Problem solving shuts down.
Okay, so we've talked about the long-term structural changes, but there is also a massive, immediate cognitive cost to complaining. It actively sabotages your intelligence and your logic in real time. Seriously. There is this fascinating neurological tug-of-war happening right inside your head. While your amygdala, that threat center, is highly active and intensely focused on the perceived danger, your prefrontal cortex gets entirely suppressed. Now, the prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain responsible for logic, problem-solving, and planning, and its activity just drops right off a cliff. So the really crucial takeaway here is that complaining makes you hyper-aware of a problem, but it renders you biologically unable to actually think of a logical way out of it. You see the danger perfectly, but you literally can't solve it.
Section 4. The physical tool.
Let's zoom back out from all that microscopic brain chemistry to the macro level. How does this unseen neurological battle actually ravage our physical daily lives? Well, living with chronic complaining is exactly like having a 24/7 fire alarm ringing in your nervous system.
Just imagine living in a house where the fire alarm literally never, ever stops ringing. It's deafening, it's exhausting, and you can't ever just let your guard down and relax. That is exactly what is happening to your nervous system when you're a chronic complainer. Because the brain's alarm system is just stuck in the on position, your physical body literally cannot relax. It's trapped in this constant, exhausting state of tension and alert.
And what are the real-world results of all that? The tangible, everyday symptoms of a body trapped in this constant, self-inflicted state of low-grade emergency include things like constant restlessness or sudden bursts of anger over incredibly small things. You might experience severe emotional volatility, where your moods just swing wildly, or totally unexplained physical fatigue, and sometimes even feelings of deep despair. These aren't just random bad days, guys. They are the direct physical results of a brain that we have unconsciously trained for stress.
Section 5. Rewiring for positivity. Now, I know we've covered some pretty heavy, sobering information today, but let's pivot for a second, because there is an incredibly uplifting, empowering realization hiding right inside the exact same neuroscience we've been talking about. Here is the core summary, the big takeaway from all of this. Complaining is not harmless. It is highly effective brain training. Venting perfectly trains your mind for stress and negativity. But notice the key word in there, training. Training is an active process. It is something that is learned. And if it's learned, that means it's something that can be controlled.
Which leaves us with a truly provocative thought. If we accidentally trained our brains for negativity, can we intentionally rewire him for positivity? The answer beautifully is a resounding yes. If the rules of neuroplasticity work to build a negativity highway, it means you have the exact same power to clear the weeds right off that positivity path. You can consciously rebuild your brain's pathways for problem solving and optimism. It all starts by just catching yourself before that next complaint and deliberately choosing a different path. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this leaves you curious and honestly excited about just how much power you truly have over your own incredible mind.